Julie, I think we're good to start.
All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Quad County Collaborative webinar. I think we might wait just another minute here to make sure we have all our participants in, but looks like the numbers are going up for participants. All right, well, I don't want to hold this up too long, so we'll get started. Again, welcome to the Quad County Collaborative webinar, Navigating the Road Ahead, School Reopening, Policy, and Summer Meals. My name is Julie Calderon, and I'm the Director of Child Nutrition for Adelanto Elementary School District, and I'll be your moderator for today. So we would like to start with some housekeeping. If you encounter any technical difficulties, please sign off and re-enter the webinar. And if the problem persists, use the chat box to get some help. Attendees are in listen-only mode. That prevents any feedback. Recording and slides of this webinar will be emailed to all the registrants within the next 2 weeks. And if you have any questions for the speakers, please use the Q&A box, not the chat box. And if you're shy, then you can submit your questions anonymously in the Q&A section. All right, we have a lot of great information for you today and great speakers. So I'll do my best to respect everyone's time and keep us all moving on track. So I apologize now if I cut anybody off, but I gotta keep us moving. So let's get started. It is my pleasure to introduce our CNAP coordinator from San Bernardino, Robin Ronquez.
Okay, thank you, Julie. And thank you everyone for joining us today for this exciting webinar. And I am incredibly thankful to all of our child nutrition heroes who continue to be flexible to the twists and turns and loop-de-loops of serving our children this school year. And as you look forward to summer ahead and prepare various scenarios for the next school year, I just want to say that our communities owe you and your staff a huge debt of gratitude and respect as our true frontline essential workers. As introduced, I am Robin Ronquez with San Bernardino County Department of Public Health, and I'm coordinator of the County Nutrition Action Partnership, known as CNAP for short. And if this is your first webinar with us, I just want to share that in just about every California county, there is a County Nutrition Action Partnership, CNAP, which is part of CalFresh Healthy Living or SNAP-Ed. CNAPs, what they do is foster partnerships to enhance communication between organizations, increase access to healthy food, address food insecurity, support policy, systems, and environment changes, promote physical activity, and inform and educate. CNAPs are responsive to the needs of each community and work together toward a common cause. So in San Bernardino County, our CNAP currently meets quarterly, and our next meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, June 22nd. I'll leave my email address if you're not already on our list. We are currently participating also in a statewide initiative to make every day a healthy snack day and make every day Rethink Your Drink Day. So if you are a community partner or school that would like access to digital nutrition education materials, recipes for beverages or snacks, videos, social media posts, feel free to connect with me. So today we have 3 other public health departments represented by their CNAPs or nutrition access to support today's effort to enhance this important conversation and facilitate sharing. So I'd like each county CNAP nutrition access representative to introduce themselves, beginning with Riverside County and Andrea Moray. So take it away.
Thank you, Robin. Hi, everyone. I'm Andrea Moray from Riverside County, and it's a pleasure to speak with all of you today. Our Riverside County CNAP is currently working on initiatives towards reducing food waste, and our next meeting will be Thursday, May 27th. I will also put my info in the chat in case we lose the slide, but we'd love to have you participate on our panel to hear about implementing the coming legislation towards reducing food waste at the business and industrial level. We'll have guest speakers from our environmental health and waste resources departments. And with that, I would love to introduce Kelly from LA County.
Thanks, Andrea. Appreciate it. My name is Kelly Warner. I am a program manager with the Los Angeles County Department of Public Health, the Nutrition and Physical Activity Program. Glad to be here today. I am the new lead for our CNAP, which in LA we've renamed and is called Nutrition Access LA. Our vision is to create organizational changes that ensure vulnerable people in LA County have sufficient nutritious and affordable foods. And we do that through convening partners, community outreach and education, sharing information and supporting policy. We also have coalition meetings. Our next meeting will be in June. We have a save the date coming shortly, so TBD on that date. But if you're interested in participating or joining our listserv, you can email me. I'll also put my email in the chat, but it is here on the slide. So looking forward to today, and I will pass it off to Gina.
We don't hear you, Gina. I think you're muted, maybe?
I am. Thank
There we
you.
go.
So I'm Gina Osborne, and I'm coordinator for the Orange County CNAP. And our main focus is to improve food security and decrease food waste. And our main goal is just to increase the number of CalFresh eligible individuals with access to sufficient healthy foods. And we are also right now promoting Rethink Your Drink throughout the county, just to promote drinking water versus sugar-sweetened beverages. And the main message here in Orange County is rethink your drink, choose water first. And our next CNAP meeting here in Orange County is on July 13th, and I will also put my email in the chat box in case you're interested in joining us. So thank you, and I think Robin, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you. And in addition to the CNAP coordinators, our Quad County School Meal Access Collaborative is co-chaired by this really amazing team. We have the infamous and always a ball of energy and fun, Betty Crocker, Child Nutrition Services Director of Redlands Unified School District. Our always supportive and willing to assist in any way, Julie Calderon, Director of Child Nutrition Services from Adelanto Elementary School District, who is also our moderator. And then we have the No Kid Hungry Superstar team, which includes the creative and multitasker, Robin Hernandez, who is the School Meal Access Manager, the organized and resourceful Andrea Cuellar, who's the Program Manager. We also have our behind the scenes tech and media guru, Tommy Lee, who's Program Associate. And last but not least, we have the amazing and visionary No Kid Hungry Senior Program Manager, Daisy Munguia. So this is your dream team. So without further ado, I'd like to hand it over to Daisy, who will provide a No Kid Hungry update.
Well, thank you, Robin, for that amazing welcome, and hello, everyone. I have a few No Kid Hungry updates, and I'm going to try to get it all done within 5 to 6 minutes. So starting off, we should all know that USDA has extended a few waivers for this upcoming academic year. 2 of those waivers allow schools to operate seamless summer option for school year 2021 to 2022. And SSO meals and snacks can be reimbursed at the Summer Food Service Program reimbursement rates. Additionally, USDA has announced it would extend PEBT through the summer and has extended the CEP deadline to September 30th. Now we know a lot of schools might be running SSO and not thinking of applying for CEP, but we really want to encourage everybody to apply now. CEP is a no-risk opportunity to lock down your current ISP percentage and high reimbursement rates throughout the school years 2024 to 2025. Rates in many districts are higher than ever due to the pandemic and record CalFresh enrollments. If your ISP percentage continues to increase next year, then you can reapply and lock in a higher rate next year. However, it's more likely that your ISP will go down as the economy rebounds. Another benefit of electing CEP now is that all students who attend a CEP school are now eligible for the valuable PEBT food benefits. If you have the capacity to run your numbers and apply by the end of September, we highly recommend you do so. And in case your capacity is limited, reach out to No Kid Hungry. We're more happy to help in any way possible. Moving on, the U.S. Department of Ed has released the COVID-19 Handbook Volume 2, and Chapter 1 starts with school meals. Lastly, as a reminder, our texting hotline is up and running. You can text food or comida to 877-877, and we have also refreshed our marketing toolkit. My colleague Andrea will be putting a lot of the links to these resources in the chat, and they'll also be provided when we send out the slides via PDF. All right, next slide. So where are all my hunger heroes at? April 28th through May 7th is May Moments of Gratitude. We are taking a moment to say thank you to our hunger heroes. So if you know someone in California who has worked really hard to keep kids healthy and fed during COVID-19, No Kid Hungry wants to recognize them. Please submit your nominations to us today. We also have a digital gratitude board where you can put your thank you notes virtually, and you can join us May 7th to share your appreciation for those on the front line serving kids with the hashtag #ThankAHungerHero. Next slide. So moving on to some advocacy updates. On the federal side, 40-hour chefs and culinary professional champions met with members of Congress this month to help us ensure that all kids have access to healthy food this summer. Additionally, our national spokesperson and Eat, Learn, Play Foundation founder, Aisha Curry, testified Wednesday before the House Rules Committee. My favorite quote from her yesterday was, "Food is not an essential school supply. It is the essential school supply." Additionally, we have breaking news from the White House. Yesterday morning, the White House unveiled the new American Families Plan, a proposal aimed at dramatically expanding access to education and safety net programs for families. Many of the provisions in the plan are policies that we strongly support. For example, lowering the eligibility requirement for elementary schools to participate in community eligibility from 40% to 25%. Keep in mind, this is a proposal, and this package needs congressional approval before it can become a reality. Moving on to state updates, bills and support that we have, we'll start out with SB 364, the Skinner bill. I think many of us know about this bill about universal free meals, and Kristen Hillman will be talking more in depth about this bill later on the webinar. So I'll move on to AB 508. Through this bill, any students grades K through 12 eligible to receive a reduced price meal will receive that meal free of charge. A Assembly member is holding the bill for now, and it may end up being part of the Skinner bill or move forward next year. The main reason this bill does not have to pass before the next school year is because of the waivers. And lastly, we have SB 464, California Food Assistance Program eligibility. This bill, commencing January 1st, 2023, would instead make a non-citizen applicant eligible for the California Food Assistance Program if the non-citizen satisfies all the eligibility criteria for participation in the CalFresh program, except any requirements related to immigration status. To the extent this bill will expand eligibility for the California Food Assistance Program, which is administered by the counties, this bill will impose a state-mandated local program. The bill has passed the House Committee and has been referred to the Appropriations Committee. The suspense hearing will be May 21st. And those are my updates. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Daisy. That was great information. I'm going to move quickly to our next speaker, Sarah Marani, who will be speaking about going with the flow for summer meals. She is the Director of Food and Nutrition Services of Ontario Montclair School District. They have won many awards, the USCA Summer Sunshine Award for Outstanding Summer Partnership in 2018, and the Turn Up the Beat Gold Award, recognizing excellence in meal quality for summer of 2018. And the CDE One in a Melon Award for the Farm to Summer efforts in 2019. So no pressure to the other speakers, but go ahead, Sarah.
Hi, everyone. I'm really happy to be here today. And I also got a little assignment that I'm super thrilled about too. The CDE's Farm to Summer Celebration Week webpage is live. So the CDE Farm to Summer is asking summer meal operators to join and celebrate our local foods during the week of June 21st through June 25th, 2021 by doing the following. Serve a locally sourced food item that students can taste. Provide agricultural-based education activity, and share your activities on social media, your website, a newsletter, or with neighboring school district or community, or invite the press to attend an event. Program operators are encouraged to complete the pre and post Farm to Summer Celebration Week survey. All program operators that complete the celebration week and the pre and post survey will have their child nutrition program organization's name posted on the Farm to Summer Celebration Week awardees tab and receive a certificate. So Farm to Summer, we loved participating in it in 2019, the first year we did it, and that's when we got our little one in a melon award, which was really cute. And we did this was super fun. We actually found out that one of the community centers where we do summer feeding has a community garden, and they sell their produce every week. And we bought produce from our community garden to participate in this program. And it turned out to be some of the best strawberries we have ever seen in this district. So I really encourage everybody to participate. It doesn't take much. You don't have to do, if you have a huge program where you're serving thousands of kids, maybe you can't find enough local little community stuff for all your stuff, all your locations, but maybe you buy it for 1 or 2 sites. It's just getting out there and supporting the local economy and having fun with it. So I encourage everyone to participate because I know we will be at Ontario Montclair. Also, the USDA has just announced that the Turn Up the Beat Summer Meals Awards program is returning this year, and they'll be providing more information coming up. So Robin was going to put put a link in the chat that you can connect to the Farm to Summer information, and I hope everybody takes the opportunity to participate. So I'm going to move on to my presentation now. This is going to be an exciting and challenging year. I think 2 weeks ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, Robin invited me to be a part of this webinar, and I was fully prepared to come on the webinar and say, you know, it's been a long year. It's been a long pandemic. Our city of Ontario had already communicated with us they weren't going to be having the big community center programs that we usually partner with them. And I thought, okay, we're going to have a nice quiet summer. We're going to do the bulk meal distribution Tuesdays and Fridays like we've been doing during the school closure. Our parents really liked that, and the participation was good. And it wasn't too mentally taxing. So I was fully prepared to come on and say, that's what we're doing. We're kind of slowing down this summer from our normal stuff. My school district decided we were going to have the biggest, most robust summer enrichment program we have ever had in OMSD history. So as of yesterday, that's all changing. We're going to have a big program this year. So OMSD has a long history of providing a really robust summer meal program. We have a partnership with our learning and teaching and our City of Montclair after school program and the Think Together program. So they're the bread and butter of our stuff because we've got kids all over the district in schools throughout the summer doing enrichment activities. So we always provided them breakfast and lunch. And this summer, we're going to continue doing that. We have a partnership with Hope Through Housing, which is a low-income housing community in our Montclair side of town, and we will likely do something with them this summer. We've had a great partnership with the City of Ontario, the Parks and Recreation, and the library. At one point, we had the largest lunch in the library program in the entire state. So City of Ontario right now isn't planning any programs, but I went ahead and I got a contract put in place just in case, because as the state opens up, you never know, they may decide they want to do something. We've had a partnership with the West End YMCA with their summer camps this summer. I don't know if they're looking to work with us in that way, but if they are, we're here for them. And we do have a partnership with the City of Ontario to purchase produce from the community garden. And again, that partnership started from the farm to school initiative, and we're very grateful for that. Can you move to the next slide? So in 2021, we're going to have many sites now open for in-person learning, which means in-person meals. And I'm talking, we're having school all day long from 8 to 2. So they're going to be eating lunch on campus. And that's actually really great. That's really great. But we're going to have some curbside meals available too, so that we can operate as open enrolled at all of our sites. So we're excited about that. Next slide. We're starting this year a new partnership with Mount Zion Church. We've never worked with them before, and we're very excited. They've got a pretty big day camp program. And one thing I want to encourage you guys when you're working with different partners, I want to encourage everybody to ask these entities that you're working with to let you be open at that site. And most of the people that we've wanted to work with, when we've said, you know, we can feed you, but in order to be able to feed all the children at no charge, you need to be open to the community coming in. And you'd be surprised, a lot of organizations have said, yes, that's absolutely fine. So I encourage you to do that as well. We also have plans for weekend and holiday meals this summer, as long as the waivers allow for it. We just got the word on the waivers, and so I'm trying to get some clarification if we're still going to be able to do the weekend meals in bulk before the weekend. If we are, that's what we're going to do. So I'm very excited about that. Next slide. What we know for sure at OMSD is it's been easier to take food where there are already kids than to try to get kids to go where food is. So I used to be very discouraged when I would hear about other organizations having these big park programs where they were serving 700 or 800 kids, and we would be serving, 50 or 200. But, if you've got 20 sites open that are feeding 100 or 200 kids a day, that's still a lot. And anytime if you feed one kid, it's worth it. And then be open to the new opportunities when they come up, because if we hadn't been open to trying new things, like working with our city, the community garden, working with the nonprofit organizations to feed at their locations instead of school sites, we would have missed out on some great partnerships. And then a lot of kids would have not had the opportunity to get our meals. So always keep those things in mind. Your program doesn't just have to be at your schools or in your own programs. You can really look at your community partnerships, and you get a lot of opportunity for participation and for feeding kids who need it. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, next up we have Ms. Jenny Lee, Director of Nutrition Services for El Monte City School District, and she'll be talking about balancing meal models, menus, and more.
All right, hi everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to share our story. I've had the honor of working in 3 out of the 4 counties represented here, so it's exciting to see a lot of familiar faces. I did just want to give a little shout out to our amazing assistant director and consultant, Deborah Amos. I've only come up on my 9th month here, and so they did a lot of the initial planning for our programs. All right, let's get started. So next slide. A little bit about our district. We have an enrollment of 8,400 students across 14 school sites, 6 of them being K-8 schools. We have Head Start and before and after school childcare, and we're 100% CEP, which is awesome and also speaks to the need in our community. And I've also listed just a couple of a little information about our department, the number of staff that we have on our team. Next slide. So I've listed the major events that happened within our operation that caused us to pivot and change things up. But what I didn't include are all the million little ticks that you guys probably have on your timeline as well, as we pivot and change and make different decisions throughout the days of this pandemic. So as you can see, we started off with schools being closed in March, prepared for our first day of school for the next school year. We had a COVID-19 surge in our operation as well. And then lastly, preparing for a reopening. Next slide. So a little bit about our spring and summer program for the 2020 school year. We mobilized all of our school staff as soon as we found out the schools were going to be closed. We mobilized them to our central kitchen. We worked them on staggered schedules to limit exposure. We collaborated with neighboring districts to meet the need of our community and identify which sites we would be serving out of. We distribute daily meal bags, which include breakfast, lunch, supper, and snack, which were mostly IW items at 4 school sites that were targeted areas in our district. We utilized our refrigerated trucks to serve our families curbside, and we distributed Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m., holidays included. Next slide. So what we saw 4,000 participants on average every day, which is about 40 to 50% of our daily participation that we've seen in the past. We learned that we had enough labor to meet the demand even on a staggered every other day schedule. We saw that our families loved the USDA Farmers to Family boxes and our promotional items, such as utilizing Subway and pickup sticks on our slower days, and that our trucks were a great way to transport and serve meals. But as we started planning for the next school year, we wanted to do things a little differently. We first wanted to serve out of all of our school sites to make sure we were meeting the need in all pockets of our community. We also wanted to offer more bulk items. We saw that families really liked the produce boxes, so we wanted to offer something very similar within our program as well. We also wanted to utilize all of our bulk food that we had sitting in our freezers, and we could only do so by offering speed scratch items and moving away from individually wrapped items as much as possible. And lastly, we wanted to maximize the use of our staff to increase food production and meet the demand. Next slide. So as we opened for the next school year, we put together a meal distribution schedule, which I'll share later on, that served at all school sites at a convenient time for parents, which was 3 to 5 p.m. We put together a menu that offered a child a week's worth of food. So they were getting all of this food, breakfast, lunch, supper, and snack, and they only had to pick up once a week. And then the menu included 2 half gallons of milk, a bag of seasonal produce, and speed scratch items. Next slide. In order to do so, we had to split our staff into 2 cohorts, and that's a lot for their safety as well. We worked a morning shift from 4 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. And yes, we were there at 4 a.m. We also worked an evening shift from 12 to 7 p.m., giving a 30-minute break just to sanitize surfaces and get the kitchen ready for the next shift. We had 4 production lines, which included a produce group, which bagged up produce, boxes where they packed these boxes that were going to be sent out to the school sites, production line that specialized specifically on speed scratch items, and then another production line where you saw little trays where we had all of our breakfast, supper, and snack items wrapped for our families. And lastly, we created a distribution team which comprised of our drivers and our part-time staff that served meals in the evening. Next slide. So we took the show on the road. Here's our schedule, and we actually have not changed the schedule since the beginning of the school year. It's mostly 3 to 5 p.m. with a morning offering on Tuesdays. We rotated through the school sites to make sure we were hitting all 14 sites, as well as our community center. Next slide. Here's a picture of what it looked like curbside. Everything has been palletized. You can see on the very right side are our boxes, produce, as well as milk on the left. And this was our setup at all of our school sites. Next slide. We had our staff serving the boxes. Each family got 2 half gallons of milk for their child. And we were making sure that all staff were wearing masks and practicing COVID safety. Next slide. So everything was going well until November, where we experienced a COVID-19 surge, not only within our community, but in our own department. The number of COVID-19 cases in El Monte were among the highest in LA County, and 30% of our nutrition services team tested positive. Many more had to be quarantined. So as you can imagine, our labor just shrunk. And then not only that, we had to change the schedules to ensure that we were not exposing our staff as much as possible. So the ask from our cabinet as well as our community was to continue to serve meals to the community and meet the need with no change to the schedules. And we didn't change any of the schedules. We distributed during winter break, fall break, but we were asked to do so with now limited staff. And so I'll share on the next slide how we were able to do that. We created themed pantry boxes. As you can see, there were less components going into the box, which meant less labor was necessary to make the boxes that we served at the school sites. Here are a couple of ideas that we have done. We did an Italian box, which was very popular, a Lunar New Year theme, a barbecue box, a comfort theme. And next week, we'll be doing our Cinco de Mayo box, which is the full 2 pounds of carne asada, 2 pounds of chicken, tortillas, avocados, and everything you need to make salsa. And so these boxes were a huge hit. And I'll share on the next slide all the things that we saw as we started changing our boxes. Families loved them. Our participation increased. We began to offer a variety of pantry boxes and speed scratch boxes because we also recognize that there are a lot of kids at home unsupervised, and we wanted to offer not only our speed scratch items every other week so that they could easily heat up food, but also the grocery style boxes that we have now started to introduce into our program. We utilize a lot of DOD, which eliminated the need for us to pack our own produce. We use meal pattern waivers to meet all of the requirements as well. And because we've utilized a lot of DOD and bulk items, we were able to keep our meal equivalents relatively stable. Next slide. Everything is going well, like I said, but we took a turn for school reopening, and that's me. I'm just trying to get through it. It was a roller coaster, but it happened last week, was our first week. The ask was to continue to serve meals curbside with no changes to the schedule, serve the 3,000 students coming back onto our campuses, all in the form of grab-and-go meals that were delivered to each classroom before dismissal. How we are delivering. So we simplified the grab-and-go menu. We actually did introduce individually wrapped items to speed up the process of producing those meals. We utilized our breakfast in the classroom bags to deliver to our classrooms. We worked our staff, and we are continuing to work our staff every day. We took them off of the every other day schedule, but we were able to do so because we mobilized all of our part-time staff to the school sites where they prepare and serve meals for our children that are on campus. And we kept back all of our full-time staff at the central kitchen to maximize on our labor hours here at the central kitchen to produce meals for our curbside program as well as our on-campus program. And then we continue to work in pantry boxes every other week to make things a little easier. Next slide. Planning ahead, we want to somehow come back to a breakfast in the classroom program. Our kids are not allowed to eat on campus. right now. So we want to reintroduce that because it's something that we're extremely proud of here at El Monte City. We want to reevaluate our meal distribution and home deliveries for our distance learners as we anticipate more kids coming back onto campus, and bringing hot speed scratch items back onto our campus as well when kids are able to eat meals. And then lastly, utilizing a POS on campus and configuring it for our curbside program to meet all the integrity requirements as we move forward. Next slide. So this is just an update from last month where we hit our 4 million mark because we have not missed a day of school, and we've been able to just pivot and change things up to meet the need. Next slide. And that's it. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Jenny. That was amazing. I love the pictures. That was great. All right. Moving right along to Mr. Michael Burns. He's the Nutrition Services Director for Fullerton School District. And he's going to talk to us about back to school with out of school time meals. Michael.
I am here. Hello,
All right.
everybody. All right, so Jenny, great job. Where do I pick up that carne asada box? It was looks very good. And it's great to follow Jenny because I actually started my career at El Monte City School District. I was there for 7 years as assistant director for 2 of those years. And then I moved on to Gavina, 7 years, and I'm over here in Fullerton. I've been in Fullerton for the last 4 years of my 5th year. So next slide. All right, so our meal service, we have 20 school sites, and we are currently serving 20 school sites. We have 5 curb sites right now, and we serve daily. And we serve daily because we want to make sure we have those hot meals for our homeless students. When we first started, we actually started at 20 school sites. We brought that down to 18. And when we had first started COVID, a crazy fiasco for sure. Our central kitchen was overpacked, too many people in there. So we needed to find another way to make sure we had a safe area for our staff to work and not everybody in a central kitchen. So a couple things we did is, one, we bought barbecues and we barbecued at all the school sites. A second thing we did is we partnered with local businesses. We actually went to the Chamber of Commerce, say, hey, what restaurants want to work with us so we could buy food from them and serve the kids. So we worked with JP23, we worked with Subway, Les Amis was an Armenian place, Simple Greek. We worked with Papa John's and some other local businesses to supply some entrees for us. And we also made our own entrees here. During that time, we served, and as we do now, breakfast, lunch, supper, and snack. So they receive all those at curbside. Currently, we're serving 2,000 breakfast. We're serving 3,000 lunch. We're serving 2,000 super snacks, and super snacks are our supper and our snack combined. We have a hybrid. We've been in school since October. And so the students can come either Monday, Thursday, and every other Wednesday, or they can come Tuesday, Friday, and every other Wednesday. Another choice they had, or they have right now, is they can be online, or they can also have extended learning program. And so those schools who come on hybrid and their parents aren't available can come, and we actually have sort of like a care program. So those students would come on campus in a location, could be in the NPR room, and they'll have computers so they can listen to their teachers teach. And during pre-COVID, we served about 7,000 lunches and about 1,000 to 1,500 breakfast and supper. And next slide. Currently, we're doing all prepackaged foods, and it is all from vendors. Most of it, I'd say 99%. But our plan is to buy a sealing machine and to start making our items from scratch, because we have a lot of commodity items just sitting there. So that should be coming very shortly. And we also bought an overwrap machine. That thing is fantastic. So before we had a sealing machine, we'd wrap our own hamburgers in some foil. Now we throw that thing through that overwrap machine. An overwrap machine is a little bit different because what it does, it kind of overwraps the whole product. A sealing machine will seal a carton And so we need a sealing machine so we can actually put those items in there and it won't spill out in the bags when we distribute them curbside. So those are more like for like rice and some meat or something like that. We need to seal that. We can't overwrap that or it'll make a mess in those bags as we hand them out. Next slide. All right, so we have curbside service. Well, first let me go back. Well, you stay there. Don't move the slide. But have you guys ever walked into a kitchen and smelled delicious food? Maybe 1,000 or 2,000 or 3,000 of something that's just super smells good. Well, that's what we had today, and we had something like let's see here. I don't know if you could see it. I don't know why I can't see it. But anyways. Anyway, oh darn it, it was a strawberry crumb cake. And when you have brown sugar, butter mixed together and it is cooking, oh my gosh, it's delicious. So we had that cooking today. And then we overwrapped it and we're going to be sending that out. So that was with our new overwrap machine. Unfortunately, it's not showing the pictures that I wanted to show you. Okay, so here we're curbside service. And curbside, like I said, we have five sites. Yep, we have 5 sites right now, and we have those meals being served. You can see how the people working. And next slide. All right, and then we have produce boxes. So we had Gold Star, we worked with Sunrise, and we worked with some other places to actually provide us some produce boxes so we can give those away curbside along with our other curbside items. So they're big, huge, successful events. We had thousands of people come, line up, and pick up those produce boxes. Next slide.
Michael, I want to just remind you about 3 minutes left.
3 minutes. Yeah. Okay. So then we also have spring break box food distribution. We also have we had it during the winter, and of course we're going to have it in between in between school and summer school. Next slide. Here's what was in our produce boxes. Next slide. And in our produce boxes, we had meal kits, as you can see. This was for Spanish rice and beans. This was for a spring box meal kit. And there's a QR code. You can see it says pinto bean recipe and wash your recipe. If we can go next slide. And if you can click on recipe, and there's going to be a video. All right, and you play that video. Perfect. You can see nice jazzy music. And this is what we put together. So I had a couple of parents call on me and say how awesome that was. They actually loved it working with their kids to make that happen. Next slide. We also give weekend meal boxes away. 1 week is Papa John's. The next day is soup kits usually. Next slide. And then, this is a bondigas soup. And next slide. So that's the same kind of video we made as the last one. Here's our bondigas flyer. This is a weekend meal pack. This would go in our weekend boxes. Next slide. And this is how, well, I'm not going to show you, but there's a video of how we serve students in the cafeteria, what is coming up. We had already made a video, so all the principals and the parents, whoever want to see it, can see how we're going to serve. Next slide. Here's some weekend flyers that we threw into our weekend boxes, different topics for each box. Next slide. And last video, we're not going to show it, but we had an intern. Her name was Michelle Ha from Cal State University, Long Beach. She actually filmed those videos for us. And this, the one to the left, you can see here is how to film that video while you're trying to make a recipe. And then the one on the right is a tutorial on how to edit the videos. These will be, I guess, in the chat box or something like that. They said if you want a link to view these and see how to do it yourself. And that is it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Michael. I can't wait to see this recording so we can click on all those and watch them.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Next up, we have some information on CalFresh Outreach, increasing food security, and your ISP. We'll have Nancy Tai and Christina De La Rosa, both from the County of Orange Social Services Agency, the CalFresh Division. And to follow up on that is after them will be Betty Crocker, the Director of Child Nutrition for Redlands Unified School District. So next up, Nancy.
Thank you, Julie. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity. This is Nancy Tai. Today, I have my co-worker, Christina De La Rosa, and I will talk about the CalFresh program as well as the importance of CalFresh Outreach in school. Next slide, please. And here is our contact information. So what is CalFresh? So CalFresh is a state and federal funded program to help low-income families buy the food that they need for good health. CalFresh in California is a California version of the Federal Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP. And in the past, we used to call it food stamp program. With CalFresh program, every single application, we will screen it for expedited service. So which means on households with very limited income and limited resources may be entitled to receive their CalFresh benefits within 3 days of filing an application. And the benefit allotment depends on household size, income, and expenses. So why is the CalFresh Outreach important for students? So CalFresh, I mentioned in the previous slide, is help family to buy food during the pandemic due to the emergency allotment provision and the 15% temporary CalFresh increase. A family of 4 receive $782 a month. And another benefit of CalFresh is if students enroll in CalFresh program, they are directly certified for free school meals. And one more thing, when students consistently get the food they need, which means they can do better in school, such as it will be less chronic absenteeism, or they can do better in their tests, or will be fewer disruption behavior. And we did some data analysis and found out that there are about 65K, 255K children underserved. So how can we help those children underserved to be on CalFresh? I'm going to hand it over to Christina. She will continue with this topic.
Okay, so why is CalFresh Outreach important for schools? CalFresh helps school nutrition budgets. Like Nancy mentioned, students that are enrolled in CalFresh are automatically certified for free school meals. That means that fewer school meal applications to process and fewer unpaid meal charges. So we wanted to provide some recommendations and some suggestions of what schools can do to do some outreach at their schools. So for school districts that are located in Orange County, we are suggesting that you add the social services agency, mybenefitscalwin.org, or the getcalfresh.org links to your school district's website. We're also recommending that you include CalFresh flyer in your school registration packets. If possible, that you post CalFresh flyers on campuses, or that you email or mail a letter to families with general information about CalFresh, or utilize robocall to inform families about CalFresh. If any school districts in Orange County are interested in utilizing the email or the mailing of the letter or utilizing the robocall, please contact us for an approved script. We can definitely go ahead and assist you with that. Next slide, please. Here at Social Services Agency, we are committed to collaborate with the school districts. One of the collaborations that we have is direct certification through the County of Orange. We do have some school districts that currently participate. You might be wondering, why would I want to use direct certification through the County of Orange? It acts as an additional check and balance. It may also capture students that, that CalPADS may have missed. Student information is secure, and typically the matches are available the next business day. And also, because we are very committed to collaborating and to doing this CalFresh Outreach, we are willing to go out to the schools or the school districts or any meetings, once we are back to in person. We are more than willing to go out to your schools and do CalFresh presentations. So once again, if you're interested in that, please reach out to Nancy or myself. Next slide. Just a quick reminder of how customers can apply for CalFresh. They can do it online through mybenefitscalwin.org or through getcalfresh.org. They could do it by phone by calling our service center, and the phone number is listed there. They can do it by fax, by faxing in the application. And most of our offices are open to the public, but of course, due to safety, we highly encourage clients to use the online or telephone access points. And that's it. Thank you.
All right, Betty's up next.
Hey, everybody, this is Betty Crocker from Redlands Unified School District. Christina, thank you so much for sharing all that. I think that one of the things that kind of comes to light as we're all working so hard to address food security in our counties is the need for collaboration. And one of the things I'm so proud of, Tommy, can you go to my web link, please? One of the things that I'm so incredibly proud of is the partnership that we have here in San Bernardino County with our brand new deputy director, who has shared that they're going to a single sign-on for all of the clients. As a director of child nutrition services, as all of you, we are very sensitive to the fact that CalFresh is the most direct method that our families can access additional resources for their kiddos, in addition to what we provide. And what we did here is I gave you the web link. And here's our button that we put on our website for the CalFresh Outreach directly from Child Nutrition. I gave you my web link in the chat. Feel free to go directly there. From the pandemic EBT, you can either click the button on the left, and then for the CalFresh on the right, you can click that button. And that's just about it, but we will have a lot more information for you as we move along into our next webinar series here in a month or two. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it back to my co-chair, Miss Julie Calderon. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Betty, and thank you, Christina and Nancy. All great information. Okay, next up we have maximizing service and safety with BIC and G&G meals, and I will explain those. Breakfast in the classroom is BIC, and grab and go meals is G&G. For those of you who aren't in our world. All right, Janet Jung-Nickel is the director of Hemet Unified School District, and she will be speaking on that. Janet?
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Janet Jugnickel, and I am the director of RiversideUSD. I've been in school nutrition for about 18 years now, and this is my 5th school district. So right now I'm going to give an overview of what HEMIT is all about. We have about 21.5 students enrolled, and all of these numbers are pre-COVID, obviously. We are usually at 85% free and reduced. We would normally serve 23,000 meals per day. And we have about 23 school sites plus our charter school that we service lunch daily. Next slide. So we do have a very large central kitchen. Some of you have been able to come and tour. So our production floor and offices are about 50,000 square feet. And we also have a 20,000 square feet worth of freezer space. Our production areas include a bakery, cook chill with kettles, a fresh production. We do our own pizza. We make our own sandwiches, including the rolls, the bread for the sandwiches, salads, breakfast entrees, lunch, and supper. Our cook chill would include anything from ranch dressing to taco meat, chili, spaghetti, turkey and gravy, all that fun stuff that we all loved as kids when we went through our lines for lunch. And we also, of course, do catering, and we have our own warehouse with our own refrigerated trucks. Next slide. So as we were transitioning, we're looking at, obviously we were doing curbside meal distribution before we moved into the hybrid model. So the evolution was before the summer of last year, we went from serving at our sites to get rid of our food to going to, after spring break, we started doing once a week. And then when we opened up in the 2020 school year, we moved towards doing a little bit more of the bulk meal service. We did a lot of strawberries, 1-pounders, 1-pound carrots, all that good stuff, salad mix. And then we eventually moved back to once a week every Wednesday. And we also implemented morning and late afternoon serving times to make sure we were being able to access to our families, those who worked at night, and those who had to go to work early in the morning. We made sure that we were available to them as well. And with the holiday boxes, we implemented providing our loaves of bread, dozens of eggs, whole chickens, all that great stuff. The parents really enjoyed that. So we did kind of a collaboration between the bulk and also our individually wrapped, because we were able to continue to do our scratch cooking here in our central kitchen and wrap all of our products. And then in January of 2021, we decided to collaborate with our after school program. They have a creative cooking club. And so what we did is we worked with them to create recipe flyers in English and Spanish. And we provided all of the ingredients for the recipes. And this met we used this for our supper meals. And then they created the actual cooking club video. And we showed that to our families every Thursday afternoon, and they would get the boxes on Wednesday. So they were able to cook with them and make food for their families. And so things could be like tacos. We also did yogurt parfaits, and we even had one of our students do the video, and he made a fruit salad with the shredded coconut. So far, so just for curbside only, a little over 2.1 million meal equivalents up into March. Next slide. So before our transition to hybrid, we also had our small cohorts that began. So as you see, Val Vista put together a great picture collage of all of our severe mod and preschool special ed kids enjoying some breakfasts and lunches. And so we were doing that a little bit in November, and then we had the surge. And then our small cohorts returned back on February 22nd. We then moved meal distribution to every other Wednesday, beginning March 17th. And we adjusted the mailboxes because we went to hybrid. And with hybrid, we did we phased in grades before spring break and after. So you can see we started with our preschoolers, TK through 2nd. And then by April 19th, a week ago, we began serving all of our kids under school sites in a hybrid model. Next slide. So how do we prepare to do hybrid and curbside meal distribution? What we did is we made sure we negotiated with our classified and certificated bargaining units to make sure we were all on the same page. We had MOUs in place for return to school. We had MOUs in place for small cohort and hybrid before we began. This all came through collaboration with stakeholders. It's so important to make sure everyone's involved in the planning and the communication, just to make sure that we are all working together as a team. And it did prevent a lot of confusion at the school sites as staff began to come back and as we began to roll this out. And then, of course, communication to my employees. So it was really important to keep my staff up to date on things. They might even hear things before some other departments because I just wanted to make sure that they were prepared and ready to go. So that could be through emails, meetings with staff. We had a lot of check-ins with our managers to make sure they were doing okay, seeing where they were at. And then we did a lot of training with our managers. So we used a Google Sheet and we called them planning buckets. So for each type of model that we were planning to launch or implement, we made sure they had some time with their teams at their school sites to plan it out. So, because every site could be a little bit different. So they have their site-specific items that they needed to deal with. So we made sure that they each had the opportunity to work that out and do a check-in with us before we had kids back on campus to make sure we were all on the same page and we could answer any of their questions. Next slide. Another important part of moving to hybrid was making sure our safety protocols were in place. So at the school sites, we obviously made sure we had dust shields, gloves for teachers, face coverings. In our own kitchens, the same thing, we had the gloves, face covering, face shields, and plastic aprons, hand washing stations and sanitizer at various places, including our serving areas. We had videos on hand washing, face covering, and social distancing for our employees. And then if you click on the link, we have Hemet Learns Together that we had been using for all of our curriculum and things that we were sharing. And so every, our TK through 5 elementary classrooms, and then even down to our secondary students, we had some videos to share with our students, and I had my managers watch them as well, so that they were all on the same page as far as what was the expectation as our students returned to campus. And we did take temperatures at all, and we continue to take temperatures at our sites as well, and as students enter on the buses. Can you go back one more slide? So in reference to our teachers, there was a lot of apprehension about our students returning and eating in the classrooms, which I'm going to talk about in a second. So we made sure to reference in our MOUs and in conversations with our staff and with our teachers that what we were doing was not just because we want something we made up, right? We had to provide some documentation of where this came from. So it was a recommendation or a guideline from the California Department of Public Health that we could be serving meals outside or in classrooms instead of the cafeterias or group dining rooms, because that was the biggest concern that our teachers had about meal service. Next slide. So here are examples. This is a employee at Hemet Elementary, and she is getting ready to take out breakfast in the classroom. And she is my star employee right here with all of her great safety gear on. So she is wearing the plastic apron, her gloves. She has her face covering and then a face shield. So they wear face shields whenever they're doing meal service with students or delivering, just for everyone's own comfortability and with safety. And then over to our right is our classroom, breakfast in the classroom. And there's our student enjoying breakfast. And of course, there's that desk shield around it. And they're able to, of course, remove their mask. And some teachers were concerned about students removing masks in the classroom. So we just reminded them again that they did all have a desk shield. Next slide. So breakfast in the classroom is what we look like. We use a lot of crates here in Hemet. That's how we transport everything. And we have a little name on our own milk crates. In order to prepare our elementary school teachers for breakfast in the classroom, they've never done it before. So we prepared a special folder for our principals that included a Google slide presentation and a handout for the teachers for training, menus for the rest of the school year for breakfast, and then a sample letter introducing breakfast in the classroom to our parents. And then the site folder included a Google Sheet guide for planning, and then our room teacher list with the summary sheet for our managers to kind of be able to see how well each class was doing in participation and adjust numbers as needed. Next slide. So here's a picture of breakfast in the classroom, of a full classroom. Our participation, of course, I don't have a lot of data right now because we just really went back. So for our elementary students, they attend Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday for 2.5 hours. They all receive breakfast in the classroom. So we have about 52% of our students that returned, and we're serving almost 71% of them. At our K-8 schools, that could be our outliers in Anza and Idlewild. They are K-8 schools, but we are doing breakfast in the classroom for our K-5. So we are looking at almost 44% participation. Next slide.
Have about 1 minute, Jen.
Got it. 2 slides left. So grab and go meals. We just started. So for our middle schools and high schools, their first week back, it was just 1 grade. And it was like their very first day of school each day because most of them were only on campus 1 day for the week. So as you can see, breakfast was pretty low. That's served 30 minutes before school. Lunch is grab and go, but during the school day, they have time to eat. And so we're anticipating those numbers will go up as they start getting used to their campuses and where they're supposed to pick up. Next slide. And then here's a picture of secondary breakfast and one of our kiosks. They get 2 combo choices a day to grab. Next slide. And then here's our grab and go meals for secondary. We have a hot and a cold. To the left is the cold. To the right, up in the speed line area, is our boxes that fit perfectly in the speed line. They hold all the food nice and hot. And then down below is just our West Valley staff just shining on their football field. And then in the middle is our wonderful student having lunch in a very social distance atmosphere outside safely. All right, next slide. So there's a quick snapshot of our transition to hybrid. Let me know if you have any questions. I'll be here for about 5 more minutes, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, John. I appreciate it. That was a great slideshow. Okay, next up, we have In the Know policy updates from School Nutrition Association. Kristen Hillman from San Juan Capistrano Unified School District.
Hello, everybody. As she said, I'm Kristen Hillman, Capistrano Unified School District, Director of Food and Nutrition Services, and the outgoing Public Policy and Legislation Chair for California School Nutrition Association. That's a mouthful. Josh Rogers will be taking on the chair position for the next school year. And we have been working very hard over the last year just on policy, advocacy, and everything in between in the midst of running our districts and all the COVID crazy. So, you know, as school food authorities, we have to really work within the constraints of federal, state, and local regulations. We all know what those look like. And I like to say that, you know, we have to be as creative as possible within that box of regulations. But to help us with that, we need to remember to advocate for our needs, for the needs of our programs. And doing that means making friends with our legislators. So know that that is a huge, huge part of what we do. Next slide, please. So with California School Nutrition Association, Public Policy and Legislation, we have to look at all of the districts within our state. We have to put aside our own perspective and just look at the diversity across our state. We have far north, very rural districts. We have rural districts right here in you know, Southern California. We have districts that have very rural schools. And then we have very large districts that encompass, you know, urban areas, and then all in between. So, you know, it's not a one size fits all approach. And that's the thing that we have to make sure we educate our legislators on, as well as ourselves, because sometimes we get very stuck in our own perspective. We've worked really hard with our other education associations, AXA, CASBA, CASBA, all of the different ones, to make sure that we're finding common ground within the legislation. You know, Prop 98 not only funds our programs at the state level, but it also funds all education programs. So we don't want to get ourselves into a predicament where there's unforeseen consequences, you know, and we just want to make sure that we are keeping in check with the LEA so that there's no struggle amongst our district level administration when we go to talk to our bosses about what it is that's going on in our world. We have state and federal advocates that work with us with Public Policy and Legislation Committee, and they bring bills to our group. They, you know, we talk about them, we discuss what our thoughts are as representatives of the association, and then we work with our advocates to go back to legislators and figure out what we can do to be a resource to assist them on legislation. There's times where, you know, if something needs to move forward, we have to take that to the California School Nutrition Executive Board, and they're the ones who make the final decision. So sometimes movement does take time. And there's times where you might not see our association signed on to something. And that might mean that we're just working with those legislators, we're navigating, we're educating, we're asking really technical questions about how things are going to impact our operations if and when something goes into play. So again, no unintended consequences. We really want the ability to have practical applications. And ultimately, we want the bills to be successful. So next slide, please. So in 2020, between July and December, we did a lot. We did a lot of support for increasing child nutrition funding. We did a lot of push for extension of waivers and build upon waivers and flexibilities, both at the state and federal level. Our group and our advocates assisted us with sending letters to Senator Feinstein, Harris, Pelosi, Speaker Pelosi, and Minority Leader McCarthy. We met with many, many, many congressmen and women. And one of the pivotal moments, pivotal meetings, honestly, was when some of our representatives from Kern County met with Minority Leader McCarthy and actually got him to flip his perspective and assist us in extending waivers. His approval of that was huge for you know, everyone across the country. Sending letters to the House and Senate Appropriations Committees that oversee most of our programmatic issues, and then drafting dear colleague letters for different congressional leaders. And this specific one that's noted on this slide was a former Congresswoman, Susan Davis from San Diego. She was able to get a bipartisan group of 25 members from the state to sign on to this letter. And there was many other letters from SNA, FRAC, several other legislators created dear colleague letters. Even Mitch McConnell signed on to a letter supporting, you know, our programs. So it shows that, you know, what we do really is bipartisan and should continue to be bipartisan. Another exciting piece of legislation this past year was the Military Dependent School Meal Eligibility Act. And that right now is kind of sitting idle, but it hopefully will come back. And that would be just to assist our military families who move around so much, E6 and lower, to basically be directly certified. Their students would be directly certified. So no matter what district they go to across the country, they wouldn't have to worry about filling out applications over applications over applications. We worked with members of our association asking for survey information, and those were to assist the CDE as well as SNA and different advisor groups across the country for school meal challenges and needs, meal count comparisons, looking at, you know, the cost of gloves and other products, questions on, did you even know that CACFP was moving to CDSS? Things like that. So next slide.
You have about 2 minutes.
Okay, no problem. And then into federal policy for this year, 2021, we continue our effort in pushing for funding waivers flexibilities. We all know, I hope you all know, waivers have been extended through the next school year. They have been extended for this summer and then again through 2021-22. So, you know, we're also pushing for child nutrition reauthorization and to have our voices heard within that. Working with Garamendi, a congressman here in California who is pushing for more Buy American regulations and really trying to hone in on some specifics with him to ease some of those burdens that might become part of our programs. And actually sending letters to our First Lady to ask her for support for that Military Dependents Meal Act. Next slide. This is all the amazing things that were spoken about at our Legislative Action Conference. You know, Washington, D.C. is put on by School Nutrition Association, and the points listed here are the federal position points. And then we also have an action conference for Sacramento, for our state, that California School Nutrition Association puts on. And those were both held in March. They kind of back-to-back one another, which was pretty exciting and a little bit daunting. But we, I think, did a good job getting our point across and asking for some of those really important pieces for our programs. Next slide, please. And I think the big thing right now for our state specifically is just monitoring all the bills. So currently there are 12 Assembly bills and 5 Senate bills of interest moving through the legislative process. We just received word today that some of those Assembly bills have actually been pushed into a 2-year bill section, which means they're kind of on pause for this year and may be brought back next year. But some of the specific bills we're looking at within the Public Policy and Legislation Committee are AB 778. That is going to be moving to the Assembly Agriculture Committee tomorrow. Or is that today? That's today, never mind, today. AB 1009 is a Farm to School Hub program bill. ACR 38, which is School Breakfast Week, that's just really honing in and shining a light on our School Breakfast Week. And then the one I think we probably all know about, SB 364, which is the Skinner bill. And that's kind of universal meals for the state of California. So those are all some really key things that we are continuing to look at within our committee. We're watching them closely. Our advocates are speaking with the legislators. We're meeting with them. I think we've met with Skinner's office 4 or 5 times now, and just continuing to advocate and discuss and work on potential amendments that will really work for all school districts within the state. There's 2 other things real quick. The state CDE on the town hall spoke about AB 86, and that is, there's no separate money set aside for meals. It's kind of like how the state meal mandate for the normal school year states we must have meals available for students. This is not a mandate per se, but it does say that if you're going to utilize the extended, the money that is put for offering expanded learning, that there must be a meal provided during that extended or expanded learning section. So for those of us who might be doing some kind of remediation or some kind of expanded learning for summer, meals will be part of that or should be part of that. And then also SB 1383, that's the organic waste and composting. We as an association are continuing to work with legislators on this to see if what the best approach is, how to modify. There's really no funds put forward for it, and it's something that's kind of mandating action on our part as program operators. So if you have questions on any of these things, please reach out to your public policy and legislation chairs, co-chairs, anybody at CSNA, and we will be happy to give a much more in-depth conversation, have a much more in-depth conversation with you on all of this, because there is a lot. It's important, and it's easy to get caught in the weeds in it all. So.
Very true, Kristen. Thank you so much for all that information. All right, we are a little behind, so we're going to go through our Q&A time with Kelly Warner. We're going to cut that down a little bit. So Kelly, you're up next.
Great, thank you so much, Julie. So I've been monitoring our chat and the Q&A for some questions, so I'm going to just go through them. We've had some general questions come in. Just a reminder, the recording of the webinar will be sent in a follow-up email, probably in about 1 to 2 weeks, with the presentation as well. And then let's see, that covers our general questions. And then for Daisy, a question in the No Kid Hungry update: where can we send updated meal distribution information for the text hotline? And for the sake of time, Daisy answered the question, so I just want to read it out here in case anyone else had the question as well. So if you want to add meal sites or changes in your area to the texting hotline, you can email them at bestpractices@strength.org. Again, that's bestpractices@strength.org. And then the next question that had come through from Danielle was for Sarah. What community garden is OMSD partnering with? Sarah, are you still on that you could provide an answer to that question?
Sarah couldn't stay with us, and so we'll find that out, and I'll send information to Danielle.
Great, thank you so much. And then a couple questions here for Michael. There was a question from Kathy. Michael, when serving supper and snacks, I believe it is it under CACFP at risk? How do you claim for reimbursements? Is Michael on as well?
I am, yes. So it is under CACFP. So we do the school nutrition program for lunch and breakfast, and for supper and snack, it is under CACFP.
Great, thank you so much. And there was another question about can the video of serving students from Fullerton be shared? Someone's trying to figure out the best ways to serve students on campus for the new school year, and the links to those videos from Fullerton are found in the chat.
Perfect.
Thank you so much for sharing those great videos.
You're welcome.
And then let's see, a couple other questions, and I'm watching if there's any new ones coming through. We look good so far. I believe Janet had to leave as well, but she provided her contact information in the chat if anyone wanted to follow up with her. There was also a question about if her secondary students pre-order their meals, because there was name tags on some of the bags. And Janet said that the special ed small cohorts pre-order at some sites. So you saw breakfast prepared by Dartmouth Middle School for the individual students. And then I think my last question here was for Kristen. A question said, SB 364 appears to not address any hunger needs during the summer. Do you know if summer will be included in the bill? And Kristen, are you on that you could answer that question?
I'm here, yes. There's actually a piece of 364 that does address summer meals, but it's more in line with the pandemic EBT or summer EBT. They're calling it Boost, or Better Out of School Time Nutrition EBT program, to provide EBT benefits to eligible students during school breaks or campus closures caused by state of emergency declarations. And so that would be something that would have to last more than 5 or more school days to start to kick in the Boost program. So no, there's nothing regarding like meals at school per se.
Great, thank you for that answer. And then I see one more general question that has come through, maybe for Daisy. Where and when will this recording be available?
We usually try to get it out in less than 2 weeks. So you'll see it coming soon from Tom Lee.
And will that be emailed out?
It will be emailed out. It'll be the recording, and it'll also include the slides as well.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And those are all the questions that I've seen come through. If any other questions come through, you can put them in the Q&A box, or you can also email your questions to nokidhungryca@strength.org, as you can see on the slide. And so with that, I'll pass it back to you, Julie.
All right, thank you, Kelly. Next up, we have a man who needs no introduction, but I'll introduce him anyway. Mr. Matt Upton, industry coach, speaking of success, and he's going to speak on navigating the valley of fatigue. We don't know anything about that.
Thank you, Julie. You're doing a great job. Hey, listen, all of us know that in 2010, you remember that? Way back just about a decade ago, we found out that there was going to be a major change come in July. We had 6 months to prepare for that. In reality, that was the last major, great, big, universal change that we came through. That came all the way up to March the 12th of last year. Noontime on the 13th, a major earthquake happened in our world. Everything that we know changed. There were tectonic shifts that kept going in tremors. It was an earthquake beyond measure. Some of us misread it and thought this would last for just a couple of weeks, maybe 2 months. It has lasted and lasted and lasted. It has created massive fatigue. We've slipped off at these peaks and these wonderful venues of where we had isolated and really worked out everything. We've had most things down to a science. And then that quick, the earthquake of COVID-19 hit, and we slipped down into this valley. And so many of us didn't know what to do. And we've used words like shifts and pivots, and I can't wait to get back to where I once was. And quite frankly, I'm a bit exhausted with the word pivot and the word shift and all of that. This earthquake has changed everything. And as a result of some of the ways that we do things, we've just become exhausted. We are fatigued beyond measure. Every time we thought we had something fixed, it broke. Every time we thought we had something working in a certain direction, bam, we found out that we had to make a change. And we had to do this because we were shook from our spaces down into the valley. And literally, in a matter of moments, everything changed. We were now in a space where we really didn't know how to do what we were called and positioned and missioned to do. To conquer this fatigue, this enormous challenge of change that has come upon us, I believe there's 5 mindset changes that each of us must really change our mind about and move forward to relinquish ourselves of carrying this fatigue, this great fatigue that is on us. That fatigue is causing some of us to get sick, some of us to have injuries, some of us to have conflict with each other, our staff, some of us to see our people differently than we ought to. And so it is important that we make these 5 mindset changes because they're here, whether I make them or not, they're here. Let me give you number 1. Mindset number 1. We had to accept that the old model of command and control style of leadership was crushed under the tectonic shifts of this pandemic. It has been replaced with a granted trust of inspiration style leadership and influence, meaning that we had to give people trust whether we knew they could handle it or not. That was the only way to be able to serve at the curb. That was the only way to continue to do that. That was the only way to unite with the people in our community that had never served meals at schools. The only way to do that was just to grant them trust and expect the best out of them. And for most of the time, in most cases, in almost all cases, that granted trust that we gave to people was lived up to. They came to the forefront, to the curb with us and did it right alongside of us. And so we had to embrace this new style of granting trust and buying in to inspiration. Number two, we had to move from I'm in charge and I'm the boss and you're going to do what is required to inspire and attract talent. There was talent within our midst, on our teams, in our groups that we had not even seen before because we've been doing things the same way for so long. Some talent was just hidden. And then when this tectonic shift happened, when this earthquake of greater proportions than even we understood occurred, and we slipped down off our peaks down into the valley together, we was in this valley and we had to create and embrace a new now. And that is new opportunities of wonder as we learned how to inspire and attract talent to come to the surface. Both of these help us lose our fatigue and be able to rest and relax as we move through this flow of change, Number three, we had to move from top-down directives to collaboration and innovation as the electrolytes of our hydration to provide for those in the shadow of our influence. We had to innovate like never before. There's never been a time in school nutrition history that we had to innovate so many ways in so many places in such a quick way as we did over these last 412 days. It has been remarkable to witness what's going on. It's been remarkable to watch school districts when I helped serve 1.5 million meals alongside of the greatest people that there are on the planet, the LGs, the lunch gals, and the lunch guys, as some of them would show up at their sites literally at 3 a.m. in the morning. While the rest of the school district was asleep, they were out there making it happen. Because the tectonic shifts, they weren't afraid of them because their eye was on those that they served. And so we all moved from top-down directives to collaboration and innovation. How are we going to get this done? And we did it. Number four, we embraced this trust and inspire model, this model of moving towards the solid rocks of stability. This happened through the following four sort of what I call resets, refreshing light on the mission or the calling. Each of us have a mission. We would not have remained inside of school nutrition as staff, as suppliers, as those that help school sites get their mission done. We would not have remained if there was not some sense of a mission or a calling inside of us. Number two, we refocused and we highlighted the awesomeness of those that are around us. The more that each of us can find the awesomeness of people that serve meals, the less fatigue will occur. The high fives, the elbow bumps, all of the ways that you can do that helps everybody. And then number three, reshaping influence through being the first to show our care rather than competition and comparing. So many times we compete against each other. We compare ourselves with other people, and that model is gone. To be refreshed, we have to let that go, and we have to reshape everything we do through influence. And then refiring inspiration over motivation. You know, I've been accused of being a motivational speaker. Here's the problem. Here's the challenge, the challenge of motivation. Motivation creates addicts. people get addicted to motivation. And if the motivator is not there, they're not ready to go do their work because they're addicts to motivation. What we found is we must be the kind of people that move from motivation to being the kind of people that inspire the light, inspire the lit furnace that's already inside of them, and allow them to really find the embers that's in them and come because they're inspired to be there. What causes them to go? It's not the motivation, it's the inspiration that each of us give them. And doing that, because there's a euphoria that's in that motivation that causes us to move in that direction and want to be motivated. But the real ticket is when we can inspire. And then finally, mindset reset number 5. We had to embrace the havoc as a new norm of leadership and influence. There is havoc everywhere, isn't there? And so there's actually 5 little spots to this havoc. Number 1 is we had to embrace humility. We had to admit, I do not know everything. Then we had to be authentic about that. We truly had to let other people know, I just don't know everything. We're going to figure this out though. We're going to get it done. And be humble, authentic, and then show our vulnerability. It's okay to cry a little bit, not puke, but just cry a little bit. Okay, it's okay. And then being open to other people's assistance. Some of us here in the Quad County think we can carry the world, and we cannot. It takes all of us partnering together and accepting and receiving each other's differences and being open to everybody else. And then finally, it takes courage. When all this comes together, the fatigue begins to diminish and we are refreshed within our soul to meet the challenge and bring our best serve. Thank you, Quad County, for allowing me to be with you today.
Thank you, Matt. As usual, that was awesome. We appreciate you and also the support that you give all of us in every county and every school district. That was a lot of information and I can't wait to rewatch this webinar. So I feel like I missed some stuff, but thank you all for joining us. We hope you enjoyed the knowledgeable speakers and learned something to help you navigate the road ahead, wherever that takes us. And remember to keep an eye out for our next meeting invite in July. And we hope that you all have a great afternoon. Thank you so much.
See you later, everybody.